Hi, welcome to my show. This is Olio, and my name is Susan Rushton. Before I start, I have to, as always, explain what oleo means. One definition is that oleo is short for olla podrida, which is Spanish for rotten bowl or rotten pot, which just always gives me such a kick. It's a Portuguese, Spanish-Portuguese dish with essentially everything in the world in it. Pork in all its iterations, bacon and sausage, pig's feet, as well as chicken, chickpeas, cabbage, carrots, beans, pig's ears, onions and garlic. As I said, everything in the world in it except pumpkin seeds and Oreos. That's one definition. Another definition is that oleo is what comes in between the acts of a melodrama. So you might have somebody juggling, you might have somebody singing, you might have somebody doing a skit. None of it has anything to do with anything else, and none of it has anything to do with the melodrama. So in other words, apples, oranges, and a monkey wrench. So welcome to my monkey wrench. Today, I am honored to be privileged to interview the Placer County Chief Executive Officer, CEO of the county, Todd Leopold. Todd, thank you very much for joining me. I don't think we've shaken hands before. And I met Todd last month at the 9/11 20th anniversary ceremony at the CAL FIRE Nevada Placer unit on Atwood Road, where lots of people gathered to celebrate, or actually there was no need for celebration, but it was to remember and to honor those who had fallen, who had died, and who had fallen rescuing those who had died. Anyway, and there you were, and I had no idea that there was a Placer County CEO. And if you're interested in learning more about Todd, you can go on to placer.ca.gov/about-the-CEO. Or my director is groaning. I don't blame him. You could also look up Todd Leopold, Placer County CEO, and see what happens. I think that's
the easiest way to do it.
Placer County CEO Todd Leopold, yes. Okay, and you will learn, among other things, that since 2018 he has served at the pleasure of the PC Board of Supervisors. So, what is the job of the Chief Executive Officer, Todd?
Yeah, Susan, I think this is a great opportunity to talk about not only the county, but what the different roles are. And I think the County Executive Officer is one that, I've just been not only blessed, but really privileged to be a part of, and one in Placer County and in a couple other counties. The CEO, though, really provides, I think, two critical functions. One, I support the Board of Supervisors in carrying out the policy direction of the board. So I'm kind of the operational side of the organization. So the policy direction...
They decide, and you make sure it happens.
Make sure we have the staff and the resources to provide that. I also ensure the budget. So I bring forward a budget to the Board of Supervisors on an annual basis. It's the opportunity for them to appropriate money, which I always talk about. We're making investments in the taxpayer resources and talking about outcomes. And then finally, it's all about personnel. This is a service organization. We're providing resources, services to our residents, to our business community. And so I want to ensure that we have the appropriate staffing and the resources to carry that out. And so that's a lot in a very short sentence. But I've touched from HR issues in the morning to HHS and Health and Human Services in the afternoon, and anything in between, and public safety. It's diverse, but that's what I love about it too.
There's always something new and something interesting, and you're always beginning something and always ending something.
That's totally correct.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. I have warned you that I was going to bring this up. On his website, it says that you embrace strong operational management expertise with a focus on human capital optimization. And that's a mouthful of a sentence.
That's a lot.
And did you write that? Did somebody else write that?
My guess is someone else wrote that, but let me tell you what that actually means in
Please
layman's
do,
terms.
sir.
And I kind of touched on this just a little bit earlier. Human capital optimization is really ensuring that we have the right staff in the right positions to carry out the will of the board. And so it's really optimizing that
The
staffing
right staff
at the right time,
at the right time
to carry out the will and the policy direction of the Board of Supervisors. That may mean we need to put resources into economic development. We may need to put resources into health and human services or public safety. Part of my effort and my goal is to make sure we optimize that so we have the right level of staffing, we have the right resources, maybe that budgetary resources to provide those. And so that long sentence really gets to how do we deal with staff and make sure we have the appropriate staff and the resources to carry out those objectives.
Okay. And that's, you make it sound easy.
It's not that easy. But it is rewarding.
Okay.
And I think it's all about looking at what is this county and the needs of the county and the ever-changing demographics. We can talk about that in a little bit, but there are different needs, and I think this pandemic has really changed how people engage with us. Mm-hmm. And I think that's been, if I want to put a silver lining on the last 18 months, I would say we have really changed how we engage with our residents and with our business community. Things where we maybe touched around having people coming to the county building, some online technology, really drove us to looking and engaging with people in a more virtual or an online format. And that means you can conduct business with the county if you want a fence permit or you're looking at doing a building inspection service. We have people and inspectors that will do it virtually. They don't even have to be out to the site right now. So one, it's helped us address really the high demand that we're seeing in the unincorporated part of the county in terms of growth and development, but also provides it for residents if they're doing a small project. They don't necessarily have to come into the building to conduct a transaction with us.
That's new, isn't it?
We've built and really expanded that. I think that's exciting. I think that's really been a really fabulous thing that the pandemic started, but it's something that's going to really move us farther into this 21st century,
Sure.
I think, even after that.
Yeah. Okay. You said that you wanted to talk. You were talking about demographics. And that it is changing. How?
Well, I'll just share with you. Every 10 years we have a census. We got through our 2020 census. We just recently got data back. And we have seen a 16.3% growth in the county over the last 10 years. That
16.3.
16.3%. And one of the really interesting aspects of that is the change of where that growth is occurring. And it's all coming towards the southwest part of the county.
Sure.
As we do census, we also, that coincides with the redistricting process where we have to redistrict the county supervisorial districts. We have 5 districts in the county, and every 10 years we look to say, do those need to shift? And there's some state law that requires characteristics and how you determine that. One of the primary things is what we call parity. Parity is where we make sure the population's pretty much equal or very close to being equal across each of those 5 districts. But what we see is demographic shifts in terms of people coming from outside the county moving in. This is not a county that people aren't aware of anymore. If it was, we wouldn't have the amount of growth that we've seen. And in this state, this is the first time that I believe, if I understand, that California has seen a reduction in overall population growth,
Which is not something I'm terribly concerned about.
No, that's a good point. But what you've seen is the migration within the state, and Placer is one of those counties that has seen a ton of migration within the state, many times from the Bay Area, but coming into this county, just recognizing the amazing amenities, natural resources, services,
A great arts community.
No question about it, and just the recreational amenities abound. And so we've seen a shifting of that, and we see not only demographic shifts in terms of number of people, but different ethnicities. I think that's a good thing. We're creating a broader and diverse community, but those needs are different. And I think what we've seen is we want to engage people differently than they have previously, and will continually evolve as our demographics and our community shifts, and that need. And I just think we're on such a fascinating time in history, but a fascinating time as part of the culture and the maturity of this county, and I think we stepped up to the challenge pretty well.
Good.
Yeah.
I note that you spent a lot of time in Colorado.
I did.
What brought you to California? What brought you to Placer County?
Yeah, I'm a native of Colorado, so I was there for a long period of time. I worked in a number of different, with a city and a couple of counties in a similar role prior to coming to Placer. I look at it, there's similar characteristics to Colorado, I'll be honest, as there are where we're at. Butting up against the Rocky Mountains, we're butting up against the Sierras. The Denver metro area, where I was the majority of my career, was very similar to kind of the suburban areas of Sacramento region. This was just a fabulous opportunity, knowing Placer in this region. We had vacationed here previously, so I knew a bit about the area, but there are a lot of similarities, but man, the growth and the opportunities present themselves. And I'll tell you, this is such a solid, sound board of supervisors. They've just been very supportive. And the decisions that have been made leading up to me previously getting here, and the decisions of many of those supervisors that came before them, have really set the county up for really sound, financial success and being sustainable, but just organizationally and community-wise, I just think it's a really sound organization. And my ultimate goal, wherever I come and work, is how do I make it better from the time I'm here to the time at some point if I go somewhere else. And I think it was just a great opportunity for me. I really couldn't pass it up.
Good. I'd like to ask you, well, I interviewed a guy who worked for the city several years ago, and he dealt with roads and stuff, and I asked him, how can I tell if you're doing a good job? And he said, well, if you don't get all crumbly on the road
Roads
when you're
aren't falling
driving.
apart? Yeah.
If the roads aren't falling apart, I'm doing a good job. And that it's only invisible if you're not doing it.
Good point.
And so, how, as just a plain old resident who doesn't attend Board of Supervisors meetings, and granted I should, how can I tell? How would I be able to tell if you're doing a good job?
Yeah, unlike roads where you can see if you're falling apart and you're bumpy when you're going down the road, it's pretty easy to tell whether it looks good or not.
Yeah.
This job's a little different,
and
it's different on a couple different levels. One, I have 5 bosses. The 5 board of supervisors are my bosses.
Hey, Todd.
Yes.
Hey, Todd. Just a minute.
But having said that, I look at my role in 3 different areas. One, am I providing solid, sound financial, operational, and policy recommendations to the Board of Supervisors? the decisions that they made, we carry out the will of the Board of Supervisors. But I want to ensure both myself and our staff are providing really sound staff advice for them to make sound policy decisions. So that's one thing internally. I think externally, part of the role, and one of the reasons why we're talking today is how do I get out in the community and make sure that the needs of our residents, that when they understand the county and what the services we provide, but how can we support them better? And so some of this outreach and community engagement, I see myself as wanting to be visible, not visible. It's different than the Board of Supervisors being visible, but operationally visible. But I want to make sure if there are needs or concerns of our residents, they're taken care of in a timely and accurate manner. And that's my ultimate goal. And we do that through citizen surveys and through various ways that we get engaged with our residents. And so it's a little different than maybe what you see when you see transactional related items. You can say, hey, they're doing really well or not. This is a little more, I wouldn't say ambiguous, but a little different. And it's what I love about it, but it is, I couldn't totally pinpoint it because it depends on who you're asking. I think from a citizen standpoint, the needs of a county executive officer is making sure that they're getting the resources they need. From the Board of Supervisors, it may be making sure they have good sound information, the agenda is set up, the board meetings running smooth. You know, we may have a lot of comment and a lot of dialogue.
Yeah.
I think that's fabulous. That's an indication of a really engaged community, and this county is definitely in that arena.
So I guess this sounds hopeful, and I guess that if one wants to make a difference, to make one's voice heard, you're not the one to contact. It's the supervisor.
You can contact them. Obviously, they're your representatives.
Yeah.
I am fully engaged. If you have comments or questions or concerns, please reach out to me. I'm happy to take those.
Okay.
And whether I'll address them directly or get them to the appropriate person, I'm happy to do that. In many cases, I'll get emails and all sorts of types.
Hey, what are you doing?
Stuff. Either that or please share my concern with the board about these specific issues, so we carry on through public comment. There's a lot of ways to engage with us. We can do it. You can do it via a letter or an email, but we also have the opportunity. You can call in through Zoom. So again, virtually, people can engage with us, which they didn't have the opportunity to do prior to the pandemic. I think that's actually been. You can hear and listen to the dialogue, but if you want to make a public comment, you can do that in the same manner as well. And I think that has been great. So please
silver lining to COVID.
Yes, I'm looking for a few of those. But it's been a great way to engage our residents in maybe a different manner than they've seen previously.
Yes. Okay. I would like to know. Well, first of all, my guest is Placer County County Chief Executive Officer, Todd Leopold. And you can get hold of him if you want to. You can find more about him if you log on to the internet, look for Placer County CEO Todd Leopold. And I think that's cool. I think it's wonderful that one can just find your representatives, just like that. How does one get involved with counties like this?
Yeah, it's a great question. We do a couple things. One, you can get engaged through every other Tuesday. We have our board meeting, and it starts at 9:00, and it runs through the duration of that day. Sometimes it'll be done at 11, and I hate to say it, there's been a few times it's gone past 6. But it's an opportunity for residents to get engaged. The other way, and we have number of boards and commissions, we have opportunities for you to go on to our website, placer.ca.gov, and look for boards and commissions. It gives us an opportunity to you to see what do you have an interest in and a passion in, and you can do that. And I'm giving a plug to the city of Auburn or any other municipality has many boards and commissions that we want you to be engaged in, but the county has a number of those, and we're always looking for residents that feel like they might want to make a difference or they have time to make an investment for the betterment of their community. And so we want to make that easy for you. But we have boards and commissions on a whole slew of different topics and areas. I would say get involved. It's the way to, one, get your voice heard. It's one to make a difference. And the commitments can be as small or as large as you want. And I think that's another exciting thing for folks that want to get engaged in various ways.
This is a wonderful county, and you've been in other wonderful counties. What got you involved as I think you were a CEO in Colorado? How does one get involved that way? What moved you?
What prompted me that? Well, I'll give you a little backstory and then I'll tell you about just the CEO role. My father was a city council member for a number of years when I was growing up. So I had really the exposure to kind of local government. I can't say it was county was the first thing I jumped to. Usually you're seeing the cities because you rec leagues and you see that as really more direct facing. But so I had exposure to that. That was really what professionally my background. I have an undergraduate in political science. I'm sorry.
That's okay.
But I have a
master's all the time.
Oh, I know. But I have a master's in public administration. And but my career has always really been focused on kind of this local government arena. And I will tell you, it's so diverse, the topics and the issues that we'll deal with. So people come up through this career in a variety of different ways. I came up, I will say, kind of through the administrative side of the organization. So I was in a planning role initially. Then I went into more the budget side. So I was a budget officer for a county, what they call administrative services, so all the internal support functions. And then I was promoted through the course of that into more a county executive role, a deputy, and then serving at the pleasure of the board through the CEO role. And so, but people come up through a variety of different planners, financial folks. Those are some key areas, but we have park and rec directors that have gone on and become county executive officers, or in a city you would typically they're called a city manager or a town manager. So very similar roles, but kind of different flavors. I always say that a county has services that far exceed what sometimes cities have, and people don't always understand that. There's 3,069 counties in the country, 58 counties in California.
3,069.
3,069.
That doesn't sound like a lot, but maybe it is.
In comparison to cities, that's small.
That's true,
right? 58 counties in California. Placer County has a couple of unique characteristics. One, we're a charter county. A charter county means doesn't mean exactly what a home rule city would be, but it means that we can make adjustments to our organizational structure sometimes to make it best fit for the community and demographics. 14 charter counties in the state of California. We were approved by the voters back in 1980 as a charter county, so we had a couple things where we can be a little more nimble and flexible than maybe some other ones that are called general law counties. But I think people do get confused a bit about what our role is as a county. We're a subset of the state of California. So all statutes, regulations that the state of California puts in place, the county has to adhere to those. And so we're not as I guess autonomous as sometimes a municipality would be.
Even a municipality isn't autonomous.
And they have some of those similar restrictions too. But we're the safety net providers. We provide health and human services and food stamps and things for people that need assistance to kind of stay afloat. But we also do all the public safety side. So we handle the jail. Even though the state's a state agency in terms of the courts, those judges are state employees. The building that they occupy is a county building, and so we have to provide those services. Things that not everybody sees on a daily basis. Right. I have jury duty this week, and so I may be at the courthouse at some point. But not everybody gets there, and so counties have a lot of diverse, interesting things that they're looking for and needing, and I think it's just exciting to be part of that effort.
Well, good.
Yeah.
Good. So you have a family.
I do.
Leaping from one place to another. Do you have children?
I do. I have two daughters. One just graduated from college, is going to be a nurse. So I'm, just so proud of her.
Do you know where she's going to be a nurse?
They both went to Grand Canyon University down in Phoenix. So she's going to be a nurse she just got a job. She'll start at the end of the month down in Phoenix. My youngest daughter is actually starting at Grand Canyon this fall. So we're kind of empty nesters, and my wife's middle school vice principal.
Wow.
She has a lot going on.
Oh, yes, she does.
Yeah.
Yes, and oh wow, my sister's a nurse, and I'm have great respect for nurses.
It's such a tremendous need, and just one that I'm just so proud of them and my wife for. Yeah. They're just outstanding people, and hopefully I've done a good job of raising them.
Yes. Well, yes. Can you give me going back to your work, a brief example of a successful thing that you've done aside from getting this career?
Yeah, we have a lot of topics. I'll just share one specifically. We are in Auburn at the DeWitt campus, which is the Placer County government campus. We partnered with a affordable housing developer. We have a project called Mercy Housing. It's about ready to go online. 76 units of affordable housing.
I've seen that.
And with tax credits and a variety of different funding sources, we've come and put something together I think is just outstanding. The need for housing in this community and really across the state is so challenging. But I was just excited that we took advantage. The county can be good partners with our public and private entities, and I think that's where we really thrive. And so I just think housing is something that we're going to be challenged with for quite some time. Yeah. And this neighborhood, this place is
First Street.
Yeah.
On First Street in DeWitt.
Correct.
And it's obvious from when you go into DeWitt from Bell. Yeah.
It's taken shape, and I just think it's going to be a great thing not only for folks that need housing, but also our workforce housing and some of those needs as well. They'll be able to provide that support. So something we're going to build off of.
How many units are there?
76 units will be available at the onset of that project.
Great. Okay. Well, I've had a wonderful time, Todd. This is Todd Leopold, Placer County CEO. And so if you want to learn more about him, if you want to contact him, go online and look for Placer County CEO Todd Leopold. Thank you very much for joining me, Todd.
Thank you, Susan.
Again, you have been watching me, Susan Rushton, interviewing Todd Leopold, who is our Placer County CEO. If you're interested in joining, in learning more about him, take a look at Todd Leopold online at Placer County CEO. And also, ACTV presents the Board of Supervisors meeting every Monday on ACTV. Thank you very much, and I'll see you later.